Hi everyone, Bernard here on behalf of MovieGameNostalgia.com with our regular look at what's new at the movie theatre or cinema near you. Most of these are on general release. There's 6 new films this week. I'll let you know if they're a bit more limited release, but the first one we're going to be looking at is this one that was on the thumbnail, wasn't it? It's obviously quite eagerly awaited, this little movie Birds of Prey, which is obviously from the DC world, isn't it? It's a 15 rating. An hour and 49 minutes. It's actually full titled Birds of Prey in brackets and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, or simply Birds of Prey, which is probably the best way to remember it by. It's a superhero crime action adventure film, obviously based on the DC Comics team Birds of Prey. It's the 8th film in the DC Extended Universe and a spin-off of the 2016 film Suicide Squad. It was directed by Kathy Yan and written by Christina Hodson. Stars Margot, Robbie, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Jurnee Smollett-Bell, Rosie Perez, Chris Messina, Ella J. Basco, Ali Wong, and Ewan McGregor. What's the plot? Well, it's a twisted tale told by Harley Quinn herself. When Gotham's most nefariously narcissistic villain, Roman Sionis, and his zealous right-hand Zaz, okay, I've got to put my teeth in for this one, put a target on a young girl named Kaz, the city is turned upside down looking for her. Harley Huntress, Black Canary, and Rennie Montoya's paths collide, and the unlikely foursome have no choice but to team up to take Roman down. Yeah, but not a massive budget, 97 million budget. It's not much these days. It was protected, but it was projected to cover half of that on its first weekend release. So to get half of that back, is it any good? Well, there's not much out there at the moment, critic-wise, etc. But it's the first of an expected trilogy. So early signs are it's going to be a cracker. If you love your DC stuff, then I think you're going to be more or less happy with this one. If you get to see it, let me know in the comments below. And the next one we're going to look at, a million miles away really, a film called Daniel Isn't Real. Another 15 certificate, an hour and 40 minutes. This is a psychological horror directed by Adam Egypt Mortimer from a screenplay by Mortimer and Brian DeLue. Based upon the novel In This Way I Was Saved by DeLue, it stars Miles Robbins, Patrick Schwarzenegger, Sasha Lane, Mary Stuart Masterson, Hannah Marks, Chukwudi, Iwuji, and Peter McRobbie. What's this one about? Well, it's about a troubled college freshman, Luke, who suffers a violent family trauma. He then resurrects his charismatic childhood imaginary friend, Daniel, to help him cope, not really realizing how dangerous Daniel is. Well, it doesn't sound like a drop-dead Fred, does it? And on that basis, is it any good? Well, Rotten Tomatoes, I mean, Daniel Isn't Real holds an approval rating of 78%. That's based on 51 reviews and a weighted average of 7.2 out of 10. And the consensus reads, Daniel isn't real, but the smart, stylish, fun waiting for genre lovers in this well-acted suspense thriller is completely genuine. So pretty positive there. Metascore, the critics rating on Internet Movie Database, they're giving it 6.4 out of 10. And the critics ratings do rate between 3.8 and 8.9, so quite a vast chasm there between the lowest marks and the highest. The New York Times' T.O. Bugby rated it 7 out of 10. And he said, what starts as a mediocre psychological thriller finishes as a surprisingly toothsome and creative horror film, complete with creature features and journeys into the abyss. So sounds pretty promising. The users, Fountain of Life on the 8th of December 2019, he only rated it 6 and said he didn't love it or didn't hate it. And he summed up other reviewers on the user reviews as well. He said, the film has its moments. This is not, at least in my opinion, a clear-cut direction laid out, but it does have a way of drawing you in. However, it felt a bit tedious at times, and I was wanting it to move along a bit better. I didn't love it or hate it, but it was an interesting watch. So that's on a bit more limited release, Daniel Isn't Real. So please, if you get to see that, let me know what you think. And the next one is another big one that's been reasonably well advertised. It's Dolittle, a PG, an hour and 41 minutes, which doesn't sound long, does it, for what looks like it's supposed to be a bit of an epic. It's a fantasy action adventure film directed by Stephen Gaghan from a screenplay by Gaghan, Dan Gregor and Doug Mann from a story by Thomas Shepard. And obviously it's a reboot of the original Dr. Dolittle film. The film is primarily inspired by the Voyages of Dr. Dolittle book. Robert Downey Jr. stars as the title character alongside Antonio Banderas and Michael Sheen in live-action roles. The voice cast includes Emma Thompson, Rami Malek, Messina, Kumail Nanjiani, Octavia Spencer, Tom Holland, Craig Robinson, Ralph Fiennes, Selena Gomez, and Marion Cotillard. Now here is a big budget. It had a budget of $175 million. Well, what's the story? It's Dr. Dolittle, isn't it? But what it is, it's after his wife's death, so a bit of a dark start. Dr. Dolittle decides to hide from the world with his beloved animals, but he has to take a journey to a mysterious island to find a healing tree, which is the only medicine that can help to the dying queen in Buckingham Palace. Well, there you go. Any good? Rotten Tomatoes, it holds an approval rating of just 16% based on 164 reviews, with an average rating of not much higher, 3.9 out of 10. The consensus reads on the website, Dolittle may be enough to entertain very young viewers, but they deserve better than this rote adaptation's jumbled story and stale humour. The critics on IMDb, Internet Movie Database, the critics aren't too friendly to it either. They've only given it a 2.7 out of 10 score, as low as 1.5, although there is an 8 out of 10. So obviously there is a bit of differential, but most people are down on the low score. The Guardian's Benjamin Lee rated it 4 out of 10 and echoes some of the Rotten Tomatoes sentiment. He wrote, "It's ultimately a miracle that despite the tortured production process, Dolittle can most generously be described as passable for young, undiscerning viewers. It won't charm or amuse you particularly, but it's not a catastrophe, the highest praise I can muster." And the users, well, they're a little bit more kinder. It's got a 5.6 out of 10, which isn't a total disaster. And Beauty Chatterjee, one of the users on the 29th of January 2020, rated it a 6 and said, "The movie is good fun with Robert Downey Jr. and his whimsical fairy tale-like adventure. The animals all have differing personalities. You get a good laugh if you want to enjoy this movie. Let your inner child out." So, I mean, based on that, it looks as though it is really aimed at kids or adults who obviously want to bring out their inner child in themselves. So that's Dolittle, which is on general release this week on the weekend in the 7th of February 2020. And on to the next one. This is Mr. Jones. This isn't the Richard Gere one. This is a Mr. Jones 15 rating, 2 hours 21 minutes. A drama biography thriller film directed by Agnieszka Holland. It was selected to compete for the Golden Bear at the 69th Berlin International Film Festival. What's it about? Well, it's based on real events. This dramatic thriller is about Gareth Jones, and it chronicles a British investigative journalist as he travels deep into Soviet Union to uncover an international conspiracy. His life or death journey inspires George Orwell's Animal Farm, although some people have commented the links are pretty tenuous. The director of the film is Agnieszka Holland, written by Andrea Chalupa, and stars James Norton, Vanessa Kirby, and Peter Sarsgaard. Any good? Rotten Tomatoes has a score of 78% based on a small review count of 18. So, but that's 78%, which is pretty good. Metascore, which are the critics on IMDb, have rated it 6.3 out of 10, and scores range between 5 and 8.10. So not a total disaster by any means. Screen Daily's Jonathan Romney rated 7 out of 10 and went on to say, with a cast impressively headed by James Norton, a cinematography that captures the bleakness of winter and deprivation to grimly palatable effects, Holland's drama comes across in parts as a meticulously mounted, sometimes solemn history lesson. So I can see from that it's a generally positive review. The Internet Movie Database viewer watchers, the people Joe Public, have given it a 7.2 out of 10. So that looks quite interesting. That's Mr. Jones, which is on more limited release. You may have to seek that one out. The penultimate one we're looking at is called Plus One. And from more serious things, we're going on to a romantic comedy. Written, directed and produced by Jeff Chan and Andrew Reimer in their directorial debuts. It stars Maya Erskine, Jack Quaid, Beck Bennett, Rosalind Chow, Perry Reeves and Ed Begley Jr. The story, longtime friends Alice and Ben find themselves in that inevitable year that all late 20-somethings experience, in which seemingly every person they know gets married and agree to be one another's plus ones at they agree to be one another's plus ones as they power through an endless parade of insufferable weddings. Any good? Well, Rotten Tomatoes, it's got an approval rating of 90%. That's 90% based on 49 reviews. It's quite high for a romantic comedy, with an average rating of 7.3 out of 10. It holds a certified fresh designation, which is one of the top ratings for Rotten Tomatoes. The website's critical consensus reads, +1 reinvigorates and rom-com with an entertaining outing elevated by well-matched leads and a story that embraces and transcends genre cliches. Critics on IMDb, the Metascore rating, not quite as high, 6.7, and it does rate between 5 to 8 out of 10. So again, not too bad reviews. The Hollywood Reporter's John Frosch rated it 7 out of 10. He commented, +1 is nothing if not formulaic, but what +1 lacks in originality, it at least partially makes up in warmth and watchability. And it has an internet movie database user rating of 6.6 out of 10. Ask Arim, who wrote this back on the 18th of November last year, 2019, rated it 7 out of 10. And he commented, "This is a great wedding rom-com about singletons. Despite giving this 7 out of 10, I thoroughly enjoyed the film. The script was excellent with witty lines and quirks that make you relate to the characters. Jack Quaid and Mayor Erskine were excellent in their lead roles. Their relationship on screen seems genuine, as if they were really good friends. The chemistry between them was amazing. Yeah, so it made me enjoy this film more." So again, that's +1, which is on a more limited release this week. Looks like a nice little rom-com, especially with February the 14th coming on. It's probably picked a good time. February the 14th coming. It's probably picked a good time to be released. And the last one is another biggie that's getting a lot of hype. And again, it's another one that's been clouded in mystery and shrouded in mystery, and we don't know too much about it. But it's the film called Underwater, which is a 15 rating. This is on general release, an hour and 35 minutes. It's a sci-fi action drama horror film directed by William Eubank and written by Brian Duffield and Adam Cozart. Stars Kristen Stewart, Vincent Cassell, Jessica Henwick, John Gallagher Jr., Marmaduke Athey, and T.J. Miller. Well, what's the script on this one? Well, it's about a crew of aquatic researchers work to get to safety after an earthquake devastates their subterranean laboratory, but the crew has more than the ocean seabed to fear. Its budget was between 60 and 80 million, so not the most fantastic of budgets. There's been a lot of hype on this. Is it worth it? I've seen some positivity, but checking on the websites, on Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of only 50%, 50%, based on 148 reviews, an average rating of 5.1 out of 10. And the site's consensus reads, Underwater's strong cast and stylish direction aren't enough to distract from the strong sense of deja vu provoked by the claustrophobic thriller's derivative story. The Metascore critics on IMDb, and again, not overly impressed, 4.9 out of 10, and they score it between 3 to 7.5 out of 10. So there is some people who like it, but The Guardian's Benjamin Lee sort of spoke for many of the critics and scored it just 4 out of 10 and said, "What frustrates me most about Underwater is that just how very little it brings to the table. It's a solid, competently directed regurgitation of an oft-told tale that never manages to justify its own existence." Internet Movie Database, the user's a bit higher, 6.2 out of 10, so it's certainly a watchable rating on the users. Big Bad Baseface on the 26th of January, I don't really get some of these handles from, on the 26th of January 2020, spoke for many of the public reviews. He echoed most of the sentiment. This had a lot of potential. The suspense held on pretty well until the last 20 minutes or so. It felt like the writers gave up and went with the easiest way out, which was really, really lame. I can deal with something being far-fetched, but when it just makes no sense, it ruins the whole experience. Yeah, so I mean, I saw early positivity on Underwater, and obviously reading more and more of the reviews and more people have seen it, critics and public, it has dropped a little bit. So anyway, if you get to see Underwater, that's on general release as well, so that should be quite easy to watch. Let me know in the comments below what you think of that. So that's the 6 cinema releases this week. Birds of Prey, I'll be watching that. Daniel Isn't Real, looks pretty good. Dolittle, I have to put my kids' head on for that one. Mr. Jones, again, looks interesting. +1 when I'm in a romantic mood. And, of course, Underwater. So they're all out on general release weekend in the 7th of February 2020 here in the UK. And I wouldn't imagine too much different in your territory, wherever you are. Probably in the US, they may be out a little bit earlier. Anyway, thanks for watching that. Please push the subscribe button. That'd be great. For more of these information, vlogs and videos, push the bell notifications so we know when they're coming out. And any thumbs ups are always great. And please follow me on Twitter at nostalgia_movie with all updates on films, movies, board games, posters, football. If you're into football, I'm there. And I'm on Facebook at Jurnee with links to moviegamenostalgia.com, my website for DVDs, posters and board games. Have a look on there if you ever get a chance. Thanks so much for watching today. Hope you enjoyed that. And if you get to see any of these, as I said, let me know in the comments what you think, and give me your scores and what you think on these. And obviously, some of these I'll be doing a more in-depth review in the coming weeks, and for your information. Anyway, thanks you so much for watching today. Whatever you're going to do with the rest of your day, have a great one. Look after yourself, look after your friends, and more importantly, look after your family. And hopefully, please join me again for another review or a special in the near future. Thanks for watching. This is Bernard saying goodbye.